What's going on, people? Good afternoon. Hope you guys are doing well. As always, we're here on Thursday. We got a game in a few hours, and we got to do our rooting guide for week 12, figure out who we're rooting for, and figure out what are the games that the Seahawks do not play in that the Seahawks really care about. Quick side note here, my computer is freaking out over the last day or so, having all kinds of weird issues with it. It's messing with my microphone settings, it's messing with some of my peripherals. Sometimes it doesn't load certain websites. I don't know what's going on. So hopefully I'm able to get this video out and everything's totally fine with it. But just know that if there are problems of any kind, I'm aware that stuff is going wrong. But anyway, tonight's game, we beat the Houston Texans. They play the Bills. So I guess we want the Texans to win just because of strength of victory stuff. I think that's really the only angle that matters. All right, guys, let's take a minute so I can tell you guys about Sleeper. I'll tell you a little secret as well. It's more than just a platform for fantasy leagues. This year, millions of users have enjoyed playing fantasy sports on Sleeper, but there's so much more to it. You have live stats, real-time updates of all stats. You have a news feed with lightning-fast updates on players and teams, and a real-time chat where you can engage with other users about plays, performances, games, all kinds of stuff during the sports season. So download Sleeper, experience it for yourself, and don't forget to use my promo code SBN to get up to a $100 match on your first deposit, and pair that with their new promo that will give you a free $20 entry, no deposit needed. So you can use both of those promos. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states and going. So check out Sleeper today and use those promos. All right, everybody, welcome back. So moving on to Sunday's action now. We skipped the Seahawks game because we know what we want there. But these other games, Steelers, Bears, low key, kind of a big game for the Seahawks. The Bears are and remain and continue to be, and probably at this rate will continue to be, a playoff threat for the remainder of the season. And they are definitely one of those teams that could make it and push a team that currently expects to make it out. A team like Green Bay, a team like San Fran, a team like Detroit, and yes, a team like Seattle. Meanwhile, the Steelers are a team that the Seahawks beat, so strength of victory dictates we want them to win as much as possible. So we are rooting for the Steelers here, and it sure would be nice if we could get this to go our way. Not exactly likely. We are talking about the Aaron Rodgers-less Steelers, but still hoping for it regardless, and it can still happen. Patriots, Bengals, whichever. Whichever. I don't think there's anything here. This is going to be one of those nothing burger games for us. Giants, Lions, no incentive to root against the Giants at this point. May as well take some guys out with you on your way down. So if they want to knock off Detroit here, I mean, like I just mentioned Detroit as one of those teams that could surprisingly get left out of the playoffs because of some of these other teams that are doing a little bit better than expected. And they lose a game like this, they're going to be pretty firmly on the outside looking in, I think. So would be nice just to make the path a little bit easier for Seattle to at least get in. And look, with the way Seattle plays on the road, with the way this team has been at least competitive in every game they played this year, I think that there is some real, it's appealing to just try to get in. This is not like previous Seahawks teams that would just barely get in, but you knew they were going to get executed pretty quickly. No, this year, the Seahawks could get in as a 7 seed, and I still would not be surprised if they made a deep run. Vikings, Packers, interesting, right? Interesting one. The Packers are obviously the bigger threat and the better team, so nominally you want them to lose, and I think that's probably what we want. We probably want the Vikings to win. At the same time, if the Vikings win, they're hanging around. They're going to be there at 5-6, and we know how talented they are. We know how well coached they can be. I do think that at that point you have to be a little bit worried that Minnesota might find themselves in time And if they become a playoff team, then the NFC is very crowded, and you could have multiple teams surprisingly left out, even with 7 playoff spots. So it is dangerous. But if Green Bay loses this game at home to a Vikings team that is very flawed, I think we will probably be at the point where we start realizing this Packers team just isn't very good, and they might just they might just miss it on their own merits. They might just not be worthy of a playoff spot. So we also kind of want the Vikings to not be completely desperate when they play Seattle, but I think that's going to be a pretty minor factor in the grand scheme of things. Colts Chiefs, we play the Colts this year. We hope to beat them, but I don't know if we will. But we know for a fact that the Rams have beaten the Colts, so it's a little bit dangerous. If we lose to the Colts and the Rams have beaten the Colts, then strength of victory starts to matter for them. It again, it really just kind of depends on who you think or what you think is going to happen when the Colts play the Seahawks. So I'm going to say we want the Colts to lose because being realistic here, that's going to be a very difficult game, but it's you could talk me into the opposite because there's also a very good chance the Seahawks beat the Colts and then the Colts beat the Niners, and then that strength of victory stuff can really count for something later. Jets Ravens, the Rams beat the Ravens. We don't play the Ravens, so strength of victory dictates that we should want the Ravens to lose, so we are rooting for the Jets. Not a lot, but it is something. I wouldn't get too invested, though. Rooting for the Jets, never fun. Rarely works out well for you. Browns versus Raiders. I don't think there's anything here. There might be some very, very esoteric and unimportant and low-key tiebreaker strength of schedule thing. I know the Browns play the Bears, so I guess that could get involved, but I mean, the Bears played the Raiders already, so this is kind of a nothing. Jaguars, Cardinals. I mean, we played the Cardinals twice and beat them both times, so I mean, there's strength of victory, but there's also a little strength of victory coming from the Jags, who we played once. And the Cardinals are in our division. It feels like they're pretty much out of it at this point, but at 7 losses, it's not over yet. At some point, we're going to need Arizona to drop another game, maybe 2. Probably just 1, though. If it's here, it's fine. If it comes later, it's fine. We're almost to the point where we want Arizona to win games just to mess up their draft pick. But I don't know. I don't know if we're here yet. So this one I'm pretty torn on. I want to say that we actually want Arizona to win because it helps our strength of victory. And the Cardinals are, let's face it, I mean, even if they win out, they may not make it. They're not winning out anyway. They still have to play good teams down the stretch. I think they still have at least 1, maybe 2 games against the Rams. But it's never, you really want to think about it before you start rooting for division rivals. You want to make sure that it's not something that can mess you up later. Eagles, Cowboys. We need the Eagles to start dropping some games if we want any chance of catching them. Right now, they have a game and the conference tiebreaker over Seattle. If you want to catch Philly, if you're looking at Philly as the 1 seed right now, which I think they're in line to probably get, then you're going to need them to lose eventually. So as much as Dallas remains a lingering threat in the NFC at 4 wins, and with the tie as well, I think we want Dallas to win, and we hope that somebody else takes care of Dallas later, which is likely. They're still a very flawed team. But I think we want them to win this weekend. Atlanta versus New Orleans. Again, going to be rooting for Atlanta to win as many games as possible, just to try to salvage this a little bit. All right, welcome back. Sorry about that. Had to answer my phone. But yeah, of course, except for when the Falcons play the Seahawks, we're going to be hoping they can salvage something out of this season because things are getting really, really bad on that front. Buccaneers, Rams, again, pretty clear here. I don't think there's going to be We need Tampa Bay to lose a game at some point, and then we need Seattle to beat them if we want to pass them realistically. I believe that if we both win out, except we beat LA in Seattle, I believe the Rams probably win the division, so we're going to need some help. It's a lot to ask a very injured Tampa team, but they are still playing pretty good, so cannot be ruled out. So yeah, rooting for Tampa. And then we got Panthers Niners. Kind of become an interesting game at this point. It's not all bad if the Niners win because it will push the Panthers down and pretty close to the brink of. They'll be kind of right on the cliff of where we can start to not really worry about them anymore. But of course, the Niners remain the bigger threat, and they're a division threat, so we want Carolina to win. And we'll deal with the Carolina threat later if they do find a way to win this game, because if they win this game, at that point, you have to start being pretty, you have to be aware of the possibility that they might really make a run at a postseason berth, which doesn't sound right, but so it is. But yeah, that's it for this week. We got 4 teams on a bye, so nothing more to cover. There's your rooting guide for week 12. I will see you guys later. Go Hawks. Going to do the injury report later, and see you soon.